You have exactly 1 minute to unlock this gate before I call the sheriff and have you removed. Wanda Pruett is standing outside my truck door at 7 a.m. sharp, arms crossed, phone recording, sunglasses on despite the overcast sky. Behind her, 5 cars idle bumper to bumper, drivers checking watches like it'll speed anything up. Call the sheriff, I tell her. Ask him whose name is on the deed while you're at it. 2 years of this woman treating my grandfather's land like her personal shortcut. 2 years of fabricated complaints and threats dressed up as HOA business, and she still has no idea what I closed on last Tuesday. The gate stays shut. Cars start reversing one by one, gravel spitting under expensive tires. And somewhere behind my calm face, a plan 5 months in the making finally locks into place. Let me back up and tell you how a fence contractor from the wrong side of the county line ended up owning the only road into a neighborhood that never wanted him there. My name's Holt Ferris. I'm 41. I build and repair fencing for a living. And last spring, my grandfather passed and left me 14 acres on the edge of a development called Brackenfield Estates. 36 homes, decorative street lamps, an entrance sign lit up at night like a casino. My grandfather's property sits on a narrow corridor that was never folded into the development. Back in 1987, the builder needed a way to connect Brackenfield to the county road without paying to reroute around a creek bed. My grandfather let them cross a strip of his land. No easement filed, no contract, just a handshake between men who trusted each other's word. He put up a gate in 2016 after teenagers turned the corridor into a nighttime racetrack. He gave the code to the fire department and the postal service. That was the whole list. Everyone else had been driving through on his generosity for over 30 years, and most of them assumed it had always belonged to them. Then I met Wanda Pruett. She's the kind of HOA president who photographs trash cans left out an hour past pickup. 4 years running Brackenfield like her personal fiefdom. Her husband travels for work most weeks, which leaves her with nothing but time and a running list of grievances against anyone who breathes wrong. Week 1, after I moved into the property full-time, she showed up before my coffee finished brewing. That gate needs to stay open permanently, she announced. Not a request, a decree. For everyone's convenience, I explained calmly that it was private land, that emergency responders already had access, and that I was happy to talk it through like reasonable adults. Her expression shifted, the polite mask sliding off in real time. People who work for a living don't get to inconvenience people who don't have to, she said. Unlock it or I'll make sure legal fees bury you before the year's out. I own 14 acres outright, paid off 2 generations back. I let the comment go, for now. Week 2 brought a complaint about unpermitted commercial equipment for my trailer parked in my own driveway. Week 4, a noise complaint about a chainsaw used during daylight hours to clear storm debris. Week 6, an anonymous report to Environmental Services claiming my lumber pile was hazardous waste. It was cedar fence boards. Every complaint sent an inspector out who looked around, shook his head, and left without writing a single citation. Every complaint proved the same point. Wanda would rather manufacture conflict than admit she had no legal claim to the road she kept screaming about. I started talking to neighbors. A woman named Colleen described a $275 fine for holiday lights, left up 4 days past the HOA deadline. A retired teacher named Desmond mentioned a threatened lien over a mailbox post that was, by his own measurements, the exact approved height. This wasn't a neighborhood. It was a courtroom with sprinkler systems. So when Wanda escalated to an actual false police report, claiming I'd threatened her with a nail gun, disproven instantly by my truck's dash camera, I stopped being patient. My grandfather didn't leave me 14 acres so a woman with a laminated bylaws binder could push me around. Week 8, her attorney sent a letter. 3 pages claiming a prescriptive easement. The theory that enough years of unopposed use hands a community permanent access rights, deed or no deed. That claim has one requirement her attorney either overlooked or gambled I wouldn't find. The use has to be hostile, meaning without the landowner's permission. Grant permission even once, and the clock resets to 0. That night, I searched through my grandfather's old lockbox. Found the 1987 survey first, clean and unambiguous, the road crossing squarely onto his land. Then, tucked inside an old insurance folder, I found something better. A short note my grandfather sent the developer in 1989. Access permitted at owner's discretion, revocable without notice. This does not constitute a permanent right-of-way. Signed. Dated, filed with the county recorder. 3 decades of driving across our land, and every one of those years had been a courtesy, not a right. Wanda's entire legal case collapsed on 2 sentences her predecessor had chosen to ignore. I requested a formal survey at county expense. It confirmed the entirety of Brackenfield's paved entrance sat on my property, with no recorded easement anywhere in either direction. I posted the results publicly. Wanda called it fabricated and told the neighborhood I was dangerous. Meanwhile, her own daughter used the gate code every single morning for swim practice, which made the accusation difficult to sell. That's when a woman named Renata Kessler, a former HOA treasurer, came to see me not about the gate, about $58,000 in emergency storm, cleanup invoices Wanda had authorized and never paid. The contractor, a man named Julio, had filed a lien against the community's shared property just to force a response. Renata had also flagged thousands in training seminar, expenses tied to seminars that never existed. I called Julio myself. 18 years in business, never had a client stiff him before Wanda. If that lien reached foreclosure, the county could force a sale of the community's shared land to satisfy the debt. 36 families were sitting on a financial disaster. Their president was too busy harassing me to notice. Then I found a county auction listing. A narrow strip scheduled for tax sale in 5 weeks. The second half of the access road linking my property line to the state highway, abandoned by a distant estate that had let the taxes lapse. If I won it, there would be no alternate route into Brackenfield left, just my gate and my terms. Wanda tried buying me off first. Her husband showed up with an envelope, $18,000 cash for a permanent easement, no paperwork trail. I turned it down. That kind of money would have cost me more in long-term property value than it paid, and it would have handed her exactly the legal precedent she wanted. 4 nights later, someone cut through my gate's control panel with bolt cutters. My camera caught a build I recognized instantly. I didn't call the police. I upgraded the system and kept the footage. The HOA called an emergency meeting to approve a $550 special assessment for legal costs. That's when Renata stood up and asked the room to explain the $58,000 lien against their own community first. Nobody had an answer. Auction day arrived cold and quiet. Wanda showed up with a cashier's check, having learned about the parcel only 2 days earlier. Opening bid was $8,200. She bid $9,500. I waited 3 seconds, then bid $12,000. She pushed to $14,000, voice tight. I went to $16,500. Her husband whispered something urgent about their savings. She stayed silent, sold to Holt Ferris for $16,500. I now owned the entire road into Brackenfield Estates. That night's HOA meeting filled every folding chair in the clubhouse. Renata laid out the unpaid lien, the fabricated seminar expenses, months of unexplained transfers. Julio confirmed every invoice under oath, Desmond moved to remove Wanda from the board immediately. The vote passed 34-2. I stood up last and offered the neighborhood a simple deal, $30 per household monthly for permanent, recorded access, professionally managed. Guaranteed emergency service entry at all times. Or they could build their own road, entirely on their own land, on their own schedule. 33 households signed within the week. 6 months later, Brackenfield has new leadership, quarterly financial reports open to every homeowner, and a gate nobody complains about anymore. Wanda and her husband are named in an active county investigation over the lien and the missing funds. Julio got paid in full, plus interest. I used part of the road income to start a small trade scholarship in my grandfather's name for kids heading into skilled trades. Some evenings I sit on the porch and watch the same cars roll through. The gate that started this whole mess. Nobody's stacked up anymore. Nobody's late. And nobody's pretending they don't know exactly whose name is on the deed. If your HOA ever tried to claim something that was never theirs, tell me about it in the comments. I want to hear the worst one. And if you want more stories like this every week, hit subscribe. Next one's about a shared well dispute that ended with two families sharing a courtroom instead of water.